Well, jump into the main thing, talking about Loki.
Yep.
Was it the third installment of
the third series?
The
third series
in the current MCU phase. And
we've all seen it, right? We've all seen everything. Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So can drop some spoilers. I don't think it made any sense. But just
man, starting off with all this negativity, you know.
Well, it's like I'll admit, like when I watched the first episode, I was like, okay, interesting. Then I basically for the next like 5. I mean, is it 7 episodes in total, right? Or 6 or 7?
I think it was 6.
6.
Is it 6? Okay.
Yeah, it's quite short.
So the next 4 episodes, I just spent myself after every episode. I'm like, what's going on? Like, I don't. What about this? But what about this? And what about this? And then the last episode comes, and I'm like, that was a pretty good last episode. I like how they've led on to like what's to come. But as a series at itself, I felt it was kind of lacking compared to the other 2. Yeah, I thought there are so many contradictions in it that I'm like.
Okay, before you go into the contradictions.
Okay,
Before you go into those, what did let's do a roundup. So, out of 10, what would you give it? So, let's start with you, Sean, since you started off.
Like 5 out of 10.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Oh. Maybe I should replace some other people in there.
It's not the type of this that we love.
They're gonna come for you like Monster Hunter came.
Let them come.
They came
come
for
on my
them.
chest.
And we all got caught in the crossfire.
That was so funny as well. Yeah, 5 out of 10 for me. 5 out of 10.
Wow. Mo?
I would give it a solid 8. Yeah. I thought it was quite good. I'll let Sean maybe explain more of his criticisms and maybe why he didn't get it, because, it was quite an intelligent series, but we'll get to that. So. But, yeah.
Wow. Shade.
Shade.
Umbrella.
8 for me.
What?
Okay, all
right. I'll come back to that. I explain my
Demi,
face.
how do you rate it?
How did I rate it? I will probably rate it a 7.
Okay, fair.
7, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll go with the same thing. The reason why it would have been an 8, but I think the ending just felt like an abrupt ending. It went to a point when it ended, I was like, huh? Is there not another episode? Yeah.
Bro, like, most of the episodes ended to me being like, huh? Most episodes I was like, okay, there's another episode coming to help me explain why the last episode ended like that. But
I was just like, okay, yeah, I guess there's another episode. And I'm like, nope, that's it, over. I was like, oh, okay.
Well, there's a season 2 coming, but...
Yeah.
And I think that's why it ended like that. If that makes sense.
It ended like how... like another anime ended like... It's so open-ended, they did it just in case they don't get another season.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
I mean,
you don't know if you're going to have a budget. You're like, yeah, let's just kind of leave it open-ended just in case.
Yeah.
We don't...
Maybe. So question then, what was the reason, Mo, that you rated it like an 8? Like, what things did you like about it?
I liked the fact that every episode I was left guessing and I didn't know where it was going. Whereas when I've watched like other shows, you can kind of predict like, okay, this is where it's going. And I had so many predictions and theories, and each week I was like, I was not expecting that. And I thought it was quite clever. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. The only thing is, I agree with the ending. I didn't like it, but I feel like they ended it like how you would end a series on a season break rather than the end of season. So they ended it knowing that they've probably already got the story for season 2. And it kind of ended without the full, I'm trying to find a different word, but I'll say it, climax. So I felt like there was a lot of build-up and then it was over.
Yeah, exactly.
A bit prematurely, you know what I mean? So, yeah. So yeah,
Demonetized.
Hey.
Yeah. So, because my issue with it, like as you said, like you like the fact that it kept you guessing every episode. Whereas for me, I had a different feeling. Like like with One Division, I did an episode. You were like, "What the hell?" right? And it feels like as the episodes progressed, you started to understand what was going on in the first episode, and the second episode, and the third episode. Like, they're dropping things that they were like leaving you really confused, but they were like giving you answers to those things as the season was ending. Whereas for this, I feel like they dropped things and then they never explained themselves. And maybe they will in season 2. I don't know. But like, for example, you know, when they're looking for the bad Loki, right? And when Sylvie reveals herself, she drops all these like pods into different portals. That happens, then the time stream starts to go weird, right? And then nothing ever gets explained about it. Like, you don't really understand what she did. She just dropped some time stuff into portals. Okay, right. So how does that cause the time stream to go wacky? And also, did they fix it? Is it still going wacky? Like, at the end, you still see one time stream and then it splits off again. So it's like, did they fix it? And then it got broken again? Like, what happened? Like, that's one of the things that I'm saying that they sort of, I feel like if they explain themselves a bit better, I feel like, go on, you want to answer the question?
They sent the TVA agents out to address all those kind of like rogue like time streams. So they actually went to go and cut those branches. So that's what happened in that respect. And this is something that she had been planning. She wanted to cause all these Nexus events to basically disrupt the main timeline.
Yeah, but did they show... Well, if they did do that, I didn't notice them sending people off to fix anything. It was like, oh, let's all panic and do stuff. And they were all going off. But then it was like,
they dispatched all the TVA
like,
agents.
Yeah, but it was like, what is that dropping that thing? What does it mean? Like, she just dropped something. Was it like dissolving? Because this machine dissolved the stuff, right? So, you see what I mean? Like, I'm having to make reasons for why it's working.
She basically, those purple from like pods, they normally like reset or clear or, you know, a branch. So that's what she was doing. She was disrupting the timeline.
So it was just like deleting stuff.
Yeah, I just saw it as like she's almost kind of like set off a big like time bomb across the sacred timeline. Yeah. And to cause as much chaos as possible.
Yeah.
Which she'd been collecting those pods, stealing them from the TVA.
Yeah. I just felt like they could have done with just giving us a little bit more explanation as to how that was resolved. Yeah. Because I didn't get the impression that it was resolved. I was like, is that an ongoing thing? Is it fixed now? They just never touch on it again. And that's only one of the things that they did. I'm like, I would have liked to understand a bit more. The second one I'll touch on before I shut up is the kid giving Loki the sword. Why? Why is that sword important? Like, there's not. It all catches fire. Cool. What? Why is the sword important? Loki can make his own. He makes his own sheath for the sword. Like, why is this sword relevant to anything? Like, oh, here's my sword. And it's like, is it that I trust you now with my thing? Loki takes it, and it's golden, and there's probably a reason for it, because they're like, oh, I'm the one who killed Thor in this timeline. So it's just, I felt like they could have done more to explain why that happened. It was just like, oh, here's my sword, and it just feels a bit like you're humoring him. Okay, I'll take your sword, kid. Yeah, okay. And mockingly makes his own sheath for it. I just felt like, okay, fine, sure, let's do that.
I get you.
Yeah. Go on, Demi, your turn.
I just felt like it was okay. I didn't feel like it was a bad series. It was the most hyped. And I felt like for what it was hyped up to be, it didn't really match up to that. I just felt like it was just an okay series. Not necessarily because of any kind of big plot holes or anything. It's just kind of I think one thing was Loki as a character seemed a bit less Loki.
Yeah.
Like, I know he's seen every all his like how his life was supposed to play out and how he was supposed to be killed by Thanos and stuff like that. So he basically catches himself up to be the Loki that we know, but he isn't the Loki that we know because he makes all these mistakes, and you're like, that's not really a Loki thing. you know, like when he got drunk in the train, for example, and Asgardian's supposed to be really good at drinking, for one thing, and secondly, when he gets thrown out, he breaks the whole teleporter as well. So I'm here like, that was a bit easy. And it doesn't really seem like a Loki thing to be that careless. So it's just like things like that. But for me, I felt like that my favorite episode was the last episode. I felt like the payoff was really good. Because I didn't expect them, because everyone's like saying Kang the Conqueror and stuff like that. I was like, nah, it's not going to be Kang the Conqueror, not as we know him anyway. So I felt like that was a good middle ground. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Kang the Conqueror, but like, he's a huge character, and this is just a variant of that character. So it's a good like kind of compromise. So, but like before that, I was a bit like, okay, this is okay. And the whole thing, like him and Sylvie having a thing for each other was a bit.
That was weird.
It was a strange.
Yeah.
I haven't seen like
Weird.
something like that since Game of Thrones. So, so if
It's
it's like
because it's like you're going out of yourself, like
yourself, but
of yourself.
I didn't like that. That was
a bit
one of
weird.
the
It's a bit forced. It didn't need that. It didn't need it.
It
So-
made me feel a bit uncomfortable with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some next level of
just-
incest
yeah,
that we never
I just didn't.
ever thought about.
I didn't buy their relationship very much. I was just a bit like, I can imagine you guys being like friends, like really, really like friendship,
Yeah.
but a love interest. I was like,
You can always BS a love relationship. Like Disney have done it so many times. Within 2 scenes, they've fallen in love. Like it's just.
It reminds me of
Yeah.
Captain America kissing what's her face? That blonde
Agent
lady.
Carter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just been like, why is that in here? That's so unnecessary. Like,
very-
what? Is this like?
It's
is this
very-
exciting
it's very
movie? You just-
Disney.
It's like, it's like, I'm gonna move on now from
Or the
my
Hulk
trying to
and
get on with my
Black Widow.
life, and then be really thirsty. Or the
Yeah,
Hulk and Black
Banner and
Widow. Yeah, that
Widow,
one too.
yeah, Banner and Widow
Yeah,
was a bit
it just
weird as well.
seems unnecessary. Like,
Yeah.
and it felt really unnecessary in the show. I was like, you could have done it without making them like fancy each other. But okay. How about you, Elijah? Sorry, were you finished? Let me, by the way. Sorry.
The only last point I wanted to make is that I really liked Mobius or whatever.
Yeah, Mobius was really good.
Yeah.
And He Who Remains. Is it He Who Remains? I can't remember
Yeah.
his name. Yeah, he was really. His character was
I
just
loved his character.
spot on.
Yeah, I
It
loved
was,
his
it
character.
was a very good character. In general, I don't like time travel stories because it's very easy to. Is it very easy to get it wrong?
Murky the waters. Right?
Yeah, you need to really sit down and actually explain the process of the time travel and stick to it. Because I remember what I don't know, Sean. I think you mentioned the plot hole in the timeline. I can't remember what you actually said.
It was about Captain America going back and living with.
Yeah,
Peggy.
exactly. Exactly. How was he able to come back? Why didn't the TVA stop him from going back to give back put the Infinity Stones back where they were? And then suddenly the TVA comes up when Loki takes the Tesseract. What? Like to me, there's no consistent.
Yeah,
You know?
It's just like it's really for me. I found it really hard to watch the show, and I was hoping for the questions, the things that were bugging me to be answered, and never were answered. So I was just a bit like I didn't hate the show. Maybe 5. No, I was thinking to 5. Like I didn't hate the show, but I just felt compared to like One Division and Master American Soldier, it was like, yeah, you're quite far below for me. I loved the ending only because
Most seems like she disagrees.
I was like, no,
Very patient.
no,
You're very
missed.
patient.
What I loved about the ending was more because like it really opened the door to what we should be expecting next, and it opens like so many different alternate stories that we're just like trying to theorize how they're going to like bring in certain characters because of this split. And it just feels like the doors have just been swung wide open. And they can almost do, I mean, they were going to do anything they want to anyway, but it's almost like they have an excuse to now because of this whole timeline stuff going wacky. And I liked the tension at the end of the final episode where it was like, okay, they're building up this relationship of whatever it is, and it's now coming to like to a cliffhanger where one of them is gonna mess up the other one, and it's like, okay, so is Loki going to switch back to his normal self? And it turns out like she does instead, and she just can't trust. And he's like, oh, he can't trust him because she's Loki, or whatever. And she does end up killing him, even though she knows. Even you can see her, she's like, I'm not sure about what I'm doing, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So
Yeah.
So you say she didn't kill him?
No, she didn't. Oh, no, sorry. I thought you were talking about Loki. Sorry, go on.
Oh,
Yeah, he's talking about the other.
What show did you watch?
It's a different timeline.
Yeah, like even her killing
Kang.
Kang or Immortus or the one for whatever. Like you can even tell, you can look at her. She's like she's done it, and the moment she does it, she knows full off that she's fucked up.
Yeah,
And it's like oh, you can't. After they build up this whole thing about Loki's just being a certain kind of person, and she proves at the end that she is that. And I liked that build up to that. That was like a reward for me seeing what happened at the end. I was like, I liked the direction they took. This is like great, the direction they took. Although Mobius didn't know who he was, which was confusing for me because.
Yeah.
But then again, I guess you can explain that away. To be honest, you can explain that away. Is like in their timeline, maybe they don't know. Maybe the Loki looks different or something. I don't know.
yeah.
Go on. No? You were holding some stuff in. Get it out.
Wow.
Get it out of your system.
I feel like I watched a different series.
I think you did.
For me, I actually thought of the three Marvel series. So Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think, was the worst. And then I thought WandaVision and Loki were on par with each other. And I think where I understand you guys' frustration, but I think we were expecting everything to be wrapped up in a nice little neat bow and all answers given. Whereas this is Marvel, we've waited years for some answers. if we've been honest, when we watched the films. So I think that's what is going to happen. There are going to be things that literally maybe in another film or in season 2, we're going to get the answers to. And it's almost kind of like we have to be patient and wait for that big payoff, but it's worth waiting. Like I think about when Steve Rogers, Captain America, lifts the hammer in Endgame.
That was,
but
yeah,
we
it's
saw
ridiculous,
the
isn't it?
slight lift of the hammer back in the first Avengers film or something.
Yeah, it
I
was,
can't
yeah.
remember. So
Second
we waited, So, and I think sometimes we have to be patient with some of these things. They've written this first season with the expectation that season 2 is going to go ahead. So they're saving some stuff that's going to pay off later. So I'm just a bit more patient,
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I disagree to a point.
It's fine. It's fine.
I understand what you're saying, though. I get what you're saying.
I don't think they're going to answer all those questions.
I don't think we're going to get all the answers in season 2. But I do think like some things are going to be like dotted around. And in terms of Captain America going back in time and living his life with what's her name, Peggy Carter.
Peggy, yeah.
I think we are going to get the answer to that because remember he said that Loki queried like why were the Avengers allowed to mess with the sacred timeline, and the answer was given that was supposed to happen. So I think there is going to be consequences or some explanation about that, but we have to be patient to wait for it, and it is going to be answered. And so I think that's how I saw it. In terms of the series, I thought it was good. It kept me guessing. It built up a good story. The only thing I didn't like, I agree, I didn't like the storyline of Loki and Sylvie falling in love. And I've mentioned it on your podcast before. I think it's annoying where you introduce a woman character and she has to have a love interest. And this love interest happens to be practically her twin brother, which is weird. I'm uncomfortable. That kind of thing. So I felt I didn't like that. I think that could have just been a brotherly, sisterly relationship and be just as powerful. And we didn't need this weird.
We agree on some things.
relationship.
We agree on some things.
Of course. We agree we don't like brother and sister romantic relationships. Amazing.
No, we don't.
So that I do agree. But in terms of the series, I thought it lived up to expectations. I was super hyped. Loki is one of my favourite MCU characters. So I was extra hyped for this. And I feel like it lived up to my expectations at like 85% of the way. I was quite happy with it. And I'm really interested to see what happens in season 2, because I watched Falcon and Winter Soldier and I was actually really disappointed with that series. To the point where I wasn't sure if this was going to be good. Yeah. So
I'm curious to know what is that what you're gonna ask?
Yeah, like what was it about Falcon and Winter Soldier that kind of ruined it for you?
I could tell that they had changed the story. Even before I heard all the rumours where they had to do like rewrites, because things just didn't make sense in terms of I can't remember all is it the Flag
Smashers, yeah.
That whole story, it was so like, they just all got blown up in the end. It was like, what?
I quite like that.
Yeah, I was like,
it just was like, we're just gonna do away with that. And then I didn't like Falcon's new outfit, his costume. And without sounding
why?
I thought it was just too busy. Visually it just didn't look good. It looked
too
a bit like
comic accurate.
It looked like a costume,
Yeah.
Whereas
Looked a bit corny.
It did look very corny. Like the ear cut out things were just really weird, made me uncomfortable. So and I felt like the speech where he was like, "We are the world's,"
that speech is a bit weird as well. Yeah.
It was too long. It was very corny, and I felt like there were other opportunities to maybe address race and stuff that was kind of like pushed aside, where we worked out that there was a prior Captain America who was black and the way he was treated. And, you know what, we'll just give him a statue at the end. That, for me, didn't quite cut it. And so that's why that series, I kept on thinking, we'd get into the action, and we just never quite got there. And it just didn't feel like a complete story. And I don't even like the way that they split the series into episodes, in terms of the episode would finish at a very strange point. It felt like a long film that they tried to make into a series. That's how I thought it was.
I see how you feel about that.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Thanks.
Yeah, I can agree, because this one is a lot more, with Falcon Winter Soldier, is a lot less, it's a very, very sort of beginning and end story, right? There aren't really that many things happening in between it for you to be like, what is going on? It's quite simplistic in the way it's been done compared to like WandaVision and Loki, where you're just like, huh? Because there's so many like random magical galactic things happening that you're trying to comprehend what they all mean. But in this one,
it's very
it's
grounded.
just like, whereas this one is basically like, we're all just basically really normal people just shooting guns. So
just punching people really hard.
And our main issue right now is like
racism.
Is racism. So,
racism was the villain.
Racism is the villain in this thing. Racism and like prejudice and like corporate greed is the villain in this thing.
I like US Agent though. He was pretty
I liked
pretty interesting.
Yeah. Like I liked that. I like how they twisted him. Yeah, his outfit was nice. Oh, okay. Like I like what they did with his character, because you can tell, like, because at the end of the day he's a soldier, right? And the thing about Captain America, which I think he's developed as a character, is that he's not a practical hero. Like, he's not necessarily correct. He's like almost like wholly to a fault kind of thing. He's not a realist. Like he doesn't care about doing what's necessary. He'll just do what he believes is right. Right, and he doesn't care about how much it affects stuff. Like in Civil War, where he's like, "I'm gonna save my friend because it's the right thing to do, and not really care about everything else."
Yeah,
and
self-righteous.
He's very self-righteous as a character, and it's easy to see him as, he's good. But then when you put him in difficult situations, it's like, bruh. I mean, like, can you just be normal?
Yeah.
And with US Agent, it's like he just saw his friend got killed, and he reacted
I mean,
like a normal person would react based on also the drugs that he was. And he's like comparing himself to all these like huge superheroes, and then some black people come up and kick his ass.
Kick his ass. Black women.
Can I
Black
add?
women.
Black women. Black women.
Kick his ass.
Come and kick his ass. Sorry.
Without serum.
Without no serum powers, nothing.
Beat him, just beat him.
And then take his shield.
And then
Take his shield from him.
Take his shield from him and do the whole like kickflip thing. Is like, you ain't nothing.
That's why he was so pissed off, man.
Completely emasculated him. Completely. And it was just like, yeah, okay, I loved that sort of...
He just kept taking L's until his mental, he just snapped. His psyche snapped, yeah. It's like, yeah.
And that, and also the fact that, the idea of a black man becoming Captain America is dumb in a way, when you think about it. Like, you can't just take on that responsibility without considering all the shit that the country has done to your people. And they tried, you're right, they didn't do enough.
Yeah,
I think they tried to shoehorn it at the end.
Yeah,
there were so many opportunities. Like Sam has never referred to the fact that he's a black person. It's almost like, oh my god, he like woke up like, wow, I'm black.
And then it kind of, I know what you mean.
It felt so for me. Like I felt like it was going to be a really good opportunity to explore that and have that discussion, but just the way that they tried to wrap things up at the end, and I just felt like it just missed it. And the fact that they too have a season 2, right, of the season.
Do they? I didn't know if they did.
I feel like they do. Oh no, or he has a film.
He has a film coming out.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I was just like, there's an opportunity to really like maybe just take a bit more time and like save something for the film. But I think they just rushed everything in the end, and plus with all the rewrites, because obviously, from what we understand, it was supposed to be about a global virus. Yeah. And last minute they changed that. And you could kind of tell that bits had been chopped out. And I always say that if you're watching TV, if you want to see where they've reshot something, if you hear dialogue but you don't see the actor like talking, so the actor is like off shot, they will normally come in and like shoot that. They do that a lot in reality TV. I watch a lot of reality TV.
Okay. That's cool information. I didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I heard about the reshoots.
Yeah.
I didn't know they did reshoot that either.
But I felt like it needed to be longer to touch on the Black Captain America, what happened to the previous one, a bit longer. I feel like he deserved some kind of a full episode.
Or a flashback, or something.
At least,
was it Watchmen? I don't know if you've watched Watchmen.
I haven't watched the series. Watchmen.
Oh, it's really good series. It's really the one that came out. The one with Regina King. Yeah, that was very good. One of my favorite superhero series.
Okay.
But yeah, they had a nice flashback about that sort of thing. That they probably should have done that with the first black super soldier.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But it felt like even if anything, they could have pushed that to season 2, like that whole storyline.
Yeah, like it probably didn't need to be resolved.
They didn't need to.
In that, it could have just left with a little bit of friction.
Like I felt so bitter with that statue in the back of the museum. I was like, "Is this what we're doing?"
Oh no! Yeah.
maybe it was a thing of like. The other way to look at it is that maybe it sounds like I'm making an excuse for it, but it's the reality that black people, even in real life, the fact that us having like black people that fought in World War II, there's a whole platoon of black pilots that got written out of history, and like no one knows about them. But if you now wear a black puppy, people will be like, why are you wearing a black puppy? You see what I mean? But we can't even have that. So I feel like in that, the big fanfare wouldn't have made sense either. Wouldn't
have been realistic.
I don't think I was expecting. It's not so much what they did. I think it was Sam presenting that as
Sam,
like, wow,
right?
Look what we've got. And then also for I can't remember the character's name. The black.
Well, the
guy accepting it. It would have been more consistent to say no. Like,
Just to say, like,
it's not for me.
I just want to live my life. This is what these people did to me. Keep me out of the spotlight, and that's what I think would have been more realistic.
Yeah.
Because they tortured this man for years. He was imprisoned. You know, like
His wife.
there's a lot happened, and you give me a statue at the back of the museum that no one goes to.
Yeah.
Even if he's like a villain in the second season, like, I don't know, they could have done a lot.
Well, they couldn't turn him into a villain because he's not villain in canon. But
okay, fair enough.
yeah, so it's like reasons also like why I know we've gone into like Falcon Winter Soldier series now, but like even the fact that he takes on the shield, like he's going to do it. He has to do it only because it's canon. Like he can't resist it too much because it's canon. You know what I mean? Like he is Captain America in the comics, so it was always going to happen. So maybe they were just like, well, to round this off, so the next movie or something, we can start it off with him being Captain America. We just need to like end it with him being Captain America in this series. Like it does feel rushed though, as you're correct.
Yeah,
you're
No,
right.
but he could have been Captain America and still have some of those like
issues.
Just one scene that really I was just like, it's lazy, is where they had the police approach him and Bucky when they Sam and Bucky when they were arguing in the street, and the police were like ready to like arrest like Sam kind of thing.
Oh yeah, then he says, "Oh no,
And even that, I felt it lacked nuance. It just felt quite lazy in the sense of like, oh, let's just throw in a bit of police brutality, like that happens to the blacks, Again, I feel like if you're going to do these topics, like just give it a little bit more time. So I'm hoping like it doesn't have to be that's part of his story, just his like race, because black people wear more than that. But I definitely think if we're going to address these topics, let's do it properly, because it is weird that there's a black Captain America. Let's not pretend that it's not strange.
They had to modernise it, isn't it? That's the thing, bringing it. With the comics back in the 50s and 60s, racism was right. They didn't care. So now you're trying to modernise it. You have to bring it in with everything that's happened in the past 5 to 8 years.
Yeah,
but just not. It just felt like doing that in one season. It's difficult. I don't. That's a thankless task, honestly.
Would you, Elijah, put Falcon Winter Soldier below or above Loki?
Well, I mean, I do really like. It was okay.
So you put it below because you gave Loki. Like I put it
below. I gave it 7. I put it below Loki. I gave it about 6. I think WandaVision is arguably the best one out of them all. But those first couple episodes, like, what the hell is this like? But
my parents fast forwarded to episode 1 and 2 of WandaVision. I know.
I was thinking.
What?
I was thinking where was this going? But then you see these little drops here that you say this isn't normal. So it keeps you going. Then the second episode happens, and like, oh, okay. But they drop something there. You're like, okay, let me. And then it starts. And then then it just
like a little bit, and you're a bit like, oh my god. As every episode, just give you a little bit more information. Why do our parents fast forward things? It's so annoying. Anyway, but like, and I felt like with Loki, they did do that. They did do like a little bit of that. They did actually do a little bit of that. But they left a little. Like one thing I did get a bit like hyped for a little bit was when he gets zapped and then he appears in this void area, whatever that place is, and the other Loki show up. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder where this is going to lead towards. And that was quite nice to see that. So I did actually also like that bit as well. One other thing, I don't know if anyone noticed, did you feel like the acting in Loki was a little bit subpar with some of the characters? Did you not feel that?
I felt that way with Sylvie sometimes. And I felt that way with... you know what? To be honest, also with Tom Hiddleston, although he's a great actor...
Yeah.
Because I had just watched, I'm currently watching through all the Marvel films with my girlfriend, seeing the way he acts in Loki and the way he acts in the movies, films.
Very different.
It's quite different. So maybe it's the script or something, maybe? Because
maybe he's trying...
can only do so much with the script that they're given.
Yeah,
so,
maybe he's also trying to be, really show that he's a different Loki.
It wasn't bad.
It was bad. It was bad. It just when I watched it, quite a lot of scenes like hit a brick wall with me, and I was just like, what? Like the boy. I'm keeping going. I hate to this boy.
Kid Loki.
That kid Loki can't act for shit. Can't act. That little boy can't act for shit. Sorry. He can't act. And also one thing that you can really tell, because obviously the budget isn't as high, is that when the action sequences are very like not great. Like they're not great action sequences. Like even in Falcon Winter Soldier, like they were okay in Falcon Winter Soldier, but you can still like tell where okay, you just jumped backwards there, but it's fine. But with the Loki stuff, I almost wish that they had a lot less action sequences because they're so fake. You watch it like this is so unbelievably fake. Like watching them, like I almost wish that they didn't do much of them. And yeah, that I found that it broke the immersion for me kind of often when that happens, because I've just been like, right, you literally just connected swords there. Like no one was going to get hurt by anything. Yeah.
I actually thought the acting was okay, and I think for me they were trying to make this Loki different to the Loki that we are used to in the MCU, because that Loki has gone on a journey. So this is Loki straight after he tried to take over the world and everything, and like, you know, and he's stolen like the Tesseract. So it's not like a developed Loki. He hasn't been gone on that journey and everything with, you know, his mother dying and fighting with Thor and, you know, fighting with the Hulk and all of that stuff. So, yeah, also Tom Hiddleston was a executive producer on the series as well, so he was quite heavily involved. So I think that also impacted, like, how the character was, like, portrayed. I thought Sylvie was okay. The only thing I would have said is that when we didn't really get to see her character development, we got a little bit of, like, a backstory. And we don't know her. We're very new to her as well. So I feel like maybe over time we'll get like used to her as well. But I thought the acting was like okay. I wasn't like disappointed in terms of like the action scenes. I don't know. I think when you're working with like a TV budget, it's
not
less
going to be that great,
kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. There were some bits where I was just like, oh, I wish they had a bit more. I think when they were fighting like Goliath at the end, I was a bit like, it's a big cloud. Like, I was expecting some more. Yeah. And also, I think it's also how sometimes things are like rated in terms of like, sometimes I want it, if they could just make it a bit more for adults, I can see some violence, like more violence. But true. I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
Have you heard about, okay, I'll jump into the random theories. Have you seen the one where the last episode of Loki and the last episode of WandaVision tie in? Like,
yes, I have watched that, yeah.
Who the hell thinks about this? So like, basically, if you look at when in WandaVision, when she's finally becoming the Scarlet Witch, and when Loki and Sylvie are talking to He Who Remains, right? When she's transforming into the Scarlet Witch, He Who Remains is actually looking around. If you play both episodes at the same time, and then when she transforms is when he drops his like magic ball, his science ball thing, and he's like, we've crossed the threshold, and I don't know what happens next. That's exactly when Scarlet Witch gets control of her powers. But like, that's an interesting theory. But again, it's like we don't actually know where on the timeline this actually takes place. So yeah, it's probably completely irrelevant. But it's an interesting observation.
I saw that, and basically, when he drops like a figure, that's when Agatha drops out the sky. And then also, when the timeline resets, that's supposedly where Scarlet Witch hears, her children.
Her children.
So, I don't know if it's a bit of a stretch, but I was very
interesting.
excited when I saw it.
It is.
I bet this
interesting.
is how they write their stories. They just see everyone's reactions on TikTok and Facebook. And they're like, let's do that. Let's
Yeah,
make that.
that's a good idea.
Yeah, of course, yes.
That's
true.
exactly what we aimed to do. That wasn't an accident
Yeah.
at all. That was fine. Yeah, like, I'm excited to see what they do next.
Yeah.
They can do whatever they want. Like, the sky's the limit at this point. They can go nuts. Like, I like the series stuff that they're doing as well, and I'm hoping that, unfortunately, because one thing I scared me at first, when the first episode of WandaVision was only like half an hour,
Yeah.
and I was like, that's it? What? That's it? And then when, like, with Falcon Winter Soldier came out and Loki came out, they were about 45 minutes, I think. So obviously, I guess because of WandaVision being just the way it is, it's just wacky confusion in the first couple episodes. There's no point doing 45 minutes of that. You just be a bit like, what is going on? You just get
But
bored.
I think that was done purposefully to like mimic like a sitcom.
Sitcom, yeah.
Yes. You're
So
right.
those first few episodes where we just didn't even know what was going on, we were just watching these black and white like sitcoms. I think that's what they were aiming for, and I thought, and I really liked the fact that they were so brave to do something like that without explaining anything. They were just like, we're just going to throw everybody into this world, and we'll just work it out as we go along.
Yeah.
And trusting that the audience will stick by it long enough to get the big reveal towards the end in terms of like what's actually been going on. Because I was literally just watching it, was like, what is this? I don't understand. Yeah.
Very, very
Like,
old school storytelling.
Yeah. Like, imagine my parents, right? Imagine my parents, like, didn't have all the episodes to watch, and you sat down and them was like, the first episode out, they're like fast forwarding it. Like, there's nothing,
Yeah.
literally, there's 10 minutes one left of this, like, episode. What are you doing? Can you just watch the episode properly, please? Like, Jesus Christ.